What happened to Spirit Airlines is absolutely like what happened to Pan Am Airways. Pan Am was not just an airline. It was aviation. It was luxury. It defined the golden age of travel. It had international routes and cultural relevance and global presence. If you flew overseas, you likely flew Pan Am, and it was an experience. It was considered a pioneer in the industry. And then it was gone. December 4th, 1991, it abruptly shut down while flights were actively in the air. And people at the time were just as shocked as they are right now watching Spirit getting to the airport and learning that their flights are canceled by a sign at the airport and that the airline is no longer operating. And when you actually look at what happened, the warning signs are everywhere. Pan Am got hit from every single angle. It was deregulation that opened the door for competition that they were not built for. They didn't have a strong domestic network to support their international routes. They took on a messy, expensive merger that loaded them with debt. There was a myriad of poor business decisions. Delta Airlines pulled out of a merger deal with them, and that was one of the final dominoes that fell. And then fuel prices spiked during the Gulf War. It drove up costs at the exact moment that they could least afford it, during a recession with declining demand and half-empty planes. Pan Am's final chapter didn't just happen during an economic downturn. It happened under a Republican administration during a U.S. military invasion in an oil-rich region where rising fuel costs put even more pressure on an already fragile business during a recession. It was everything happening at once, okay? And remember, I said all this was canceled midair. They had to immediately ground their fleet and they stranded passengers. Now fast forward to today, Spirit Airlines is also considered a pioneer in the industry. Yes, it's a different model, it's not luxury, but it is the same kind of pressure stacking up. Had high debt, tight margins, a business model that only works under perfect conditions, poor business decisions, rising fuel costs, economic pressure on consumers, and a failed merger that was supposed to be their lifeline. And when that merger got blocked, they tried to appeal, but then JetBlue, who they were supposed to merge with, JetBlue pulled out. JetBlue pulling out was their version of the floor dropping out. And again, you're seeing this play out during a time of immense global tension where energy, oil, and policy decisions are deeply intertwined under a Republican president when we are in an economic downturn. So yeah, this was all about bad business decisions, but it's also what happens when already fragile companies get hit with economic pressure, rising costs, global instability, and lots of geopolitical issues all at once. Pan Am felt untouchable until it wasn't, and Spirit felt like a staple until it wasn't. And we're likely gonna keep seeing more of this because the margin for error right now is so thin. The economy is in a downward spiral. We have a child leading the country, and we are likely in an AI economic bubble. That will pop, and we will all feel it, regardless of how you feel about AI. If your model cannot flex, if your finances aren't solid, and if you're relying on one big move to save you, that's a huge risk. And a lot of businesses are facing this risk. History doesn't always exactly repeat, but it absolutely rhymes. And right now, it is sounding very, very familiar. This is very much Pluto returns energy. All right, until next time, y'all.